Truth is definitely stranger than fiction in these cases.
From the story of a Kansas City serial killer to heinous crimes right here in Colorado, a couple you might have just seen on tonight's episode of 2020 Calls the Denver Metro Home.
I found that I liked writing about crime. I liked being in courtrooms. I liked watching the dynamics of the law work.
For 3 decades, they've been digging into some of our state's most infamous crimes and criminals.
But as Liz Gilardi found out, this duo is always looking to highlight something bigger than the crime itself.
This crime scene is where it began. Popular Denver talk radio host Alan Berg killed in his driveway.
When he was gunned down in June of 1984, the initial thought was he just enraged some individual listener, and that was going to be the story.
The Jewish radio personality was targeted by a white supremacist group. Berg's murder would become the topic of Joyce Singular's first book, Talk to Death, launching his career as a true crime author.
I found that I liked writing about crime. I liked being in courtrooms. I liked watching the dynamics of the law work.
That book would later inspire the Oliver Stone movie, Talk Radio.
It was the doorway into these great American themes: race, violence, how do we all, coexist with each other. That story is happening around us right now.
Stories he tells with his wife, Joyce. She's a co-author and researcher, and it's not surprising some of Colorado's most infamous cases caught their attention.
She was known as the Fatal Attraction Killer.
Jennifer Reale, a married mother of 2, killed her lover's wife. The details were horrific.
She dressed up in her husband's army fatigues. He was at Fort Carson at the time. She was having an affair with Brian Hood. Brian Hood had 3 young children, and Diane Hood was at a lupus support meeting, and Jennifer dressed up and went and shot her.
Years later, Reale reached out. She was still in prison, but she read their book, and she wanted them to know she liked it.
What was interesting to us was that she never could really, could never wrap her head around why she did it. Whenever we'd get to the point about why she thinks she committed the crime or the moment she committed the crime, she sort of disassociated. And we knew that she could never really tell the truth about it.
But their books always looked to provoke a deeper dive into crime and the human mind.
A lot of times the reason that we get drawn to these stories is because of the psychological component. What drives people? Why does somebody that doesn't even have a parking ticket on her record, how could she be talked into killing her lover's wife?
The chance to raise important questions. It's why they wrote about JonBenet Ramsey and the Aurora Theater shooting.
A lot of times when you write books of this nature, the Ramsey case is a good example. The Aurora Theater case is another example. You're trying to raise questions and you're trying to start a conversation, especially in the Aurora case.
Books that engage and keep people talking.
I have felt that, writing about crime is you're really writing about the society you're living in and the times that you're living through and the things that impact, those times. And hopefully, the books have created something of a record around that.
Documenting those stories right here in Colorado. Liz Gilardi, Denver 7.